No, because I'm all the way in. So, but it's in my pocket. Okay. Okay, yeah. Let me get it for you. This is working? Yeah. Yeah. Sit in the front, you guys, as far as you can. You can fall asleep there. It's okay. Everybody sneezes sometimes. Especially if you're fasting. So you guys will be speaking up here. We can take one. Go around. Yeah, it's on. Come on in. Come on in. Sit down here. We want to make it look a little like lots of people are here. So sit down here. And you know, some people are fasting and they might close their eyes. That's okay. We're not going to wake you up. You know, go over and go, hello? No, we won't do that. So I'm going to wait a couple more minutes since it's a couple minutes past 2, but services went a little late, right? So we'll just see if we get a few more people. Hello. Come on in, have a seat. Is anybody new to these discussion groups this year? Welcome. Hello. Come on down. Well, I'll start. I'm Barbara Bressler. I have been coordinating these discussions for decades, but I'm only 30. Go figure. So this year we thought we want to have optimistic and uplifting discussions. And so the first, we have a family who are doing wonderful philanthropic work for a group called Food on Foot. And we also have the director of Food on Foot here today, Mike Foley, and helping our neighbors experiencing homelessness. This is a great organization because they help unhoused people to learn job skills and eventually be able to find permanent housing and pay rent and be productive members of society, help them to get whatever treatment they need. And Asher Schwartz, who was a bar mitzvah recently and still is working with his family, his dad and his brothers, with this group. And they're going to talk about, Mike's going to talk about the organization, and they're going to talk about the experience of doing this work and what has been inspiring and uplifting and what they've learned. And so this group is going to go until 2:50, and they'll talk a little, and then we'll have discussion, and I'll run around with the microphone so that you guys can, let's see, which one has the longer? Anyway, I'll get the microphone close enough to you, and you can ask questions or make comments. So who's speaking first? Is it, okay, we have Asher, and we have, okay, we're going to start with Asher, brother of the bar mitzvah.
No, this is the bar mitzvah.
Oh, no, I said brother of the bar mitzvah.
Hello, I'm Asher, and I'm a recent bar mitzvah here, I think a month ago now. Yeah, and I have been a part of this organization, Food on Foot, which helps give back to the homeless every Sunday. Yeah, and doing it just feels really good to me, and yeah, it's a really good thing to do.
So we got introduced to Food on Fit from a close family friend of ours who's part of it. And so the incredible thing that they do, and there's many organizations obviously that do this, is they help those in need with food. So every Sunday, and Mike, who we're very thankful is here, will talk a lot more about the program, but every Sunday, I think for the past 30 years, every single Sunday, they do something in Hollywood where people can come and they pass out meals, which is on its own is great, right? Because there's obviously people who need food. However, the thing that really, I think, set this organization apart for us is beyond just the fact that they're giving food to those in need, they're also trying to help people kind of rehabilitate their life. So they have programs, which again, Mike will talk about in terms of, getting people back on their feet, into jobs and into homes. So it's beyond just getting them a meal, it's really getting them a new start at life, which is really incredible. Anything else? No. Mike, take it away.
All right, Mike. Ashley, is this yours?
How's everybody doing? Good. So I used to work for the YMCA, and at the YMCA, at the YMCA, having fun is a big deal. And everywhere we go, we say, "Is everybody having fun? Is everybody having fun? Is everybody having fun?" And then I went to work for an organization called Homemade Los Angeles, which was based in the office of the Building Industry Association. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, is everybody having fun?" And they were like, "What?" So I hope, on such an important day, I'm so excited that you invited me to come. And thank you for that. It's so important to have a positive day, also a day when we remember the unity that we have with everything and everyone. So thank you all again. So before I get started, I always like to just share just a little bit about myself, because you don't know who I am. I am about to, in August, I celebrated my 40th anniversary in social services, working with people experiencing homelessness, working with people around their health and their mental health. But at least 30 of those 40 years have been working with people experiencing homelessness from the point of children all the way through senior citizens, beginning work at a runaway shelter, and now later here working at Food on Foot. Before I came to Food on Foot, I worked up in Santa Clarita, where we rebuilt the homeless system there and rebuilt a shelter, and raised almost $12 million to build a shelter. But one thing has gnawed at me from the beginning of the time that I've been working, And that's because the very first thing I did in social services is I was a volunteer. I went and I worked with runaway and homeless youth as a volunteer. And over 5, 6, 7, 8 months, I learned and I worked with them and I worked with them, and then I got offered a job, and I've been doing it for the rest of my life. But it began as a volunteer. And there's one fact, and that fact is that there are 70,000 people experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles. And I am of the belief, as is Food on Foot, that there is no amount of money, no amount of government funding or nonprofit support that is going to help house 70,000 people. It's going to take something more. It's going to take a big more of finding ways for everyday folks to be finding a way to help people. And when I came to Food on Foot, I found and saw a very special opportunity to do that, which is what we've been working to build. So from a history perspective, 26 years ago, the founder of our organization, Jay Goldinger, he began serving chicken to folks out of the back of his car. And over a few months, he found and realized this probably wasn't the most helpful way to really provide help for people. And so over that time, we built a system in which every single Sunday, we are providing a chicken meal and other support like groceries and clothing and those types of things, growing it year by year by year by year. And now on December 1st, it will be the 1,500th Sunday serving without missing a single Sunday in that period of time. So last year, you remember the big tropical storm? We were there making sure that people were getting their support because, believe it or not, 175 people still came because they had that need. It's just really remarkable. When I began 3 years ago at Food on Foot, we were serving on a Sunday about 200 to 225 people. 3 months ago on a single day, 410 people came seeking help and support. And I have to tell you, what we're seeing now is, you're all aware perhaps that there's a new law. It used to be that in order for people to be swept off the streets or encampments to be closed, there needed to be a place for them to be sheltered. That's no longer the case. So that's really shifting things. So we've been under the impression that as these sweeps and encampments come to and close, that we expected we maybe see less people and less people. That is not the case. We are seeing the same number of people, if not some weeks more. People are just more scattered. Not only they're more scattered, they're more frightened, and when they're more frightened, then we see difficult behavior. So we're seeing that at Food on Foot. So this Sunday serving, which has grown again to now every week in the parking lot of the LGBT Center, there are 20 tables set up with a warm meal from El Pollo Loco, with support from our neighbors, canned goods, all kinds of things that anybody needs who's experiencing homelessness or food insecurity, they can come and get that support. And what makes this unique and what makes this special is on that Sunday, we have folks, and if you were to come, you'd see our flyer here, but you see folks who have green shirts on. Those are folks who we've identified as being employable, but currently experiencing homelessness. They may be living in a car, they may be living in a street, they may be living in a shelter, but we've identified that they are employable and unemployed, or they're employed but do not remotely have the amount of money that it's going to take to pay a deposit and to have a place to live. So what we're doing is we're looking for folks who are employable, and when we find them, they come, and for a $25 a week stipend on Sunday, they are there setting up, cleaning the street, working at the farmer's market, and participating in workshops and working with resource coaches to build the job skills necessary to get a job, or building the financial literacy skills to be able to handle their money, to be connected to social services. All of those things are occurring on Sunday. Now, this is what makes us unique and special, is when they secure a job and have showed a period of stability, we will help them find housing, and we will pay their rent for 5 months until they have saved $5,000. Once they've saved $5,000, they have the beginning of a foundation where they may not fall back into homelessness again. So if something goes wrong, if there's an issue, if there's a problem, they've got something to fall back on rather than just living paycheck to paycheck. And the key is, we're doing this without any government funding. 100% of the funding that we receive comes from donors and grantors, and we're very open now to looking at the right levels of government funding to do what we do, but to have the flexibility to do what a person needs. A lot of the programs that exist don't have that, right? So we're providing what we consider to be a neighborhood. In that, we have 1,000 individuals. Last year it was 1,020 people who came and volunteered with us. Nearly 700 households. It's one of the only places where a teenager or a 6-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old can actually come and give back to people experiencing homelessness in a very safe atmosphere. We've got 3 security guards, that people are backed up by tables, we've got staff, we've got all these people experiencing homelessness who are working to get out of homelessness. It's a very unique environment. We're very proud that this is a place where kids can actually come and have a positive experience of giving back and seeing people in a different light. We have everyone take off their sunglasses because a lot of the people that we encounter are not going to be talking to anyone who is not homeless during the week. So these are the types of experiences that we're trying to create, and we believe that that's creating neighborhood. So on that special component, I wrap back around to the issue of volunteerism. And so what we've done is based on the idea that no amount of money is going to help every single person who needs it. We need everyday folks to be able to engage with people experiencing homelessness in some positive way. So we've created a program to reach out to those 1,000 people and to other people like yourselves called Friends. And I have a flyer up there. I'd encourage you to take it when you leave, called Friends. And what we're looking for is people who have some level of skill to be able to partner with somebody who's been experiencing homelessness, who's on their road out, and provide them with that skill and potentially long-term friendship. Because a lot of the things that people need are positive relationships with positive people. And a lot of folks that we work with don't have that. A lot of them have really reached the end of their family. One of the reasons they're experiencing homelessness is they've got nowhere to turn. So we want to create opportunities for people to have lasting friendships with people who have helped them. So to give you an example of that, we had a young man who was in the foster care system. He graduated from the foster care system, for 5 or 6 years was homeless, and was working, finally got a job in a restaurant. And when he was housed, he had a budget, he was working on his budget, and he was saving no money because he was having all of his food delivered by DoorDash. He hadn't experienced using coupons, he hadn't experienced going to the store, and the fact of the matter is what he needed was a grandmother. He needed a grandmother. He needed someone to say, "Oh, honey, come on now. This is what we're going to cook this week, and this will be fast, and this is how you do it." And we just started to click and say, there's a lot of people who could do this. There's a lot of people who could connect with him. There are so many people whose jobs and careers are based in accounting and bookkeeping and finance who can help people with jobs. Not only can they help them with jobs, they can help them learn how to secure and deal with their money, because so many people that we deal with don't know how to do that. Right now, one of the things we're dealing with is predatory auto lending. What we've got in predatory auto lending is somebody who is in low income, who really feels like they need a car, which they do, they need a car to go to work. They will be sold and given a loan on a car. They'll pay a lot of money up front. They'll be given the car loan, and they probably don't have the ability to make that payment over a period of time. If they don't, the car will be repossessed. The car dealer would not have necessarily lost any money on that deal, and they will now have probably in a position to be evicted and to have bad credit and to not be able to get housed. One of the things we deal with the most is people who have bad credit who cannot get housed. We are lucky in that we have 3 or 4 now rental organizations who, if we pay 4 months of rent for people in advance, they'll take them. Nobody can do that on their own. Somebody who's experiencing homelessness who just got a job is not going to be able to come up with 4 months worth of rent in order to get housed. We're able to provide that support because we've got cash flow to be able to do it, and we've got people coming in. So this is a very unique component that we have. It's a small nonprofit. We're purposefully small because we can really focus on folks, but we do see the opportunity for that to be scaled and to do more and to help more people the way that we're doing it. So that's what I had to share. I think I've fulfilled my task to come and share with you what we do. The issue of homelessness is very big. Again, I've been dealing with it for 40 years, and I'm happy to discuss and talk about what we do or anything that you all want to talk about. Along with amazing family, thank you for supporting us. We have a storage and staffing hub on the corner of Fairfax and Pico. And every week we are serving people in the parking lot of the LGBT Center on Schrader between Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard. So there's the Hollywood YMCA is right across the street. Just down the street is the Hollywood Athletic Club, if that's like a...
What percentage of these people are seniors?
The percentage of people that are seniors, so because we have hundreds of people coming through, we use the data that comes from the city for our council district, because that's the people that we see. And we think it's around 12 to 15%.
How do you deal with people who have drug problems and don't want to follow the rules because that means they can use their drugs?
Did you guys hear that? People
Yeah.
who have drug problems, how do you deal with that?
Right. So again, just to make sure, what do we do about people who are using drugs and drug use and it's preventing them from getting help? Right. So we are providing two services. One is we're providing food, clothing, and support so that people can fight another day. We're not, just give a handout, give a handout, give a handout. While we're there, every other week, we have UCLA Street Medicine is there, providing street medicine services. The Department of Social Services comes. The Department of Mental Health has now begun to come. We're providing opportunities for people. The folks that we have in our program are required to take a drug test and show that they're not using drugs. I do have to tell you, we've been thrown for a little bit of a loop because there's a new law related to cannabis and marijuana, and that we are not allowed to test for that anymore. So that's a potential challenge that we're dealing with, but we continue to test for every drug that we possibly can, and sobriety is a requirement for what we do with the folks that we consider to be employable. A lot of people have heard about the Housing First movement regarding shelter. We support every possible step, and I believe that the system is a bit unbalanced at the moment, and there needs to be a greater focus on sobriety, but right now the problem is so big that each area is probably not funded as it should be. Yeah.
Similar question, which is like the role of serious mental health disorders in the population, like what percentage?
Yeah.
Less serious, but if not treated, really
Right. So the question was how does the mental health, the level of mental health, what is the level of mental health issues and how is that impacting the community? So there's multiple levels of that. What we've seen is significant numbers of the employable people that we help and serve do not have problems with mental health to the level for which they would be of a high enough acuity to qualify for government services. They're not mentally ill enough. And those are folks who have experienced trauma for the most part in their lives at some level. So them finding and having the necessary insurance and having the ability to get help is lessened, which is why we're focusing on our friend program, because we think that's an opportunity to get people more into the services that they need. Going through our line, I would say at least 70% of the people who come through the line are experiencing mental health issues or behavioral health issues, which include drug, alcohol abuse, et cetera. But it certainly is, particularly in the Central City area, and here, in the Van Nuys, North Hollywood area, these are real issues and concerns. But just to give you a picture, if one of our resource coaches makes a referral to the county in order to somebody have to get psychiatric assistance, it will usually take 9 weeks for somebody to be seen. Yeah, so the Department of Mental Health has many, many offices. They can offer people therapy, they can offer them medication. But when people are experiencing homelessness, making a 10 o'clock appointment on Tuesday, it's gonna be hard. Yeah, so there's lots of work to be done in that area. Yes.
So 2 questions. First, what's your graduation rate and what does that process look like? And how much would you say is allocated per person for a successful
Sure. So 2 questions. How much money is allocated per person and what's the success rate for the people that we have? So we will have, over the course of the year, in our jobs and housing program, about 120 or so people will come through, meaning in any course of time, about 80 will be 80 people for the program. We have now provided rental support over the last 12 months for 35 of those people. So 35 are getting that $5,000 and saving that money. So it costs us about $6,000 to house somebody. So we'll have to pay the 4 months of rent, and we'll have to pay, the other thing we do is we help them furnish their apartment. So that costs between $6,000 and $7,000 per person. They're getting stipends, and then the other part that I think I forgot was when somebody becomes housed, we actually put them on our staff and employ them. So for that 8 hours, those people who if you were to come, you would see they were in a gray shirt, they had been housed. For the period of time that they're saving, we employ them so that we're able to give them feedback on their employability and to keep them in their jobs and to give them extra money leading towards that important savings. And then at the end of 4 months, we release them from employment, and hopefully they're on their way to saving and being successful. And the last round that we just did, which was about 2 weeks ago of going back 18 months, for the people who had been housed, 90% were still housed.
So if I understood correctly, you don't take any money from the city. So you're not involved with the mayor's whole home safe program, or you're not involved with LA Family Housing or any of those other groups in terms of where you find housing for them?
So the question was, where do we find housing for people, and are we involved with other organizations and the mayor's fund? So from a funding perspective, we're not collecting funding because we're not providing direct mental health services. We're not doing street outreach. We don't have to do street outreach. People find us and know what we do. And so we're not accepting government funding for what we do. That doesn't mean, however, that we're not connected to all of that. So we maintain a referral base throughout the region so that when we have people who come to us who need referrals to those spaces, on the Sunday when the Department of Social Services is there, we're working to see if we can help people get shelter placement. So our effort regarding housing is building relationships with landlords who are willing to work with us. Because unlike, we're not in the Section 8 department, so Section 8 is a voucher for funding for people to have their rent paid. We don't do Section 8. We're looking for people who are employable. So they have money. We have money to help pay them to get in and to help support them in their housing. And what we find is that when rental organizations experience that 90% of the people stay housed, a lot of them are willing to work with us, but it's very, very hard because right now, there's very little housing. There's very little housing, very little affordable housing. We've just been lucky enough to latch on to some who are willing to help us. And sometimes they drift off and drift away. There was just a new law that was passed that they used to have for 2 months deposit, and now they can only have 1. You would think that would be helpful. On one hand, it's helpful that you don't have to come up with 2 months deposit, but it also puts landlords in a position to be tighter and to be far more careful about who they have come in, or they'll do it on the opposite end and just tack on their rent. We're lucky we've been able to help handle that, but it's not necessary. A lot of the laws that are being passed on the face of it seem very positive, but they're not necessarily, there are side effects for a lot of them. Yeah.
How do you find employers for your people?
So the question was, how do we find employers for people? So the other thing that makes special what we're doing is while we will, like for instance, we have a relationship with El Pollo Loco, we have like 4 or 5 relationships with organizations that will help employ people. We're trying to get people to have the ability and skill to find their job and help them find it. Because that's the life. They're probably going to have to get another job and another job and another job, particularly as they try to work their way up and have a higher level of income. So us getting them a job, we're focused on helping them get the job for themselves and giving them the support to succeed at doing that. Yes? Who funds our group? So we have a very exciting, one of the things that just is amazing to me is we have something called the $98 Club. And so for the last 26 years, slowly over time, people will give between $98 and one person gives $1,000 a month. And so we will have about $750,000 from over nearly 500 people who are making a monthly gift to Food on Foot. Individual donors, corporations who sponsor our organization, and foundations, family foundations, and hopefully coming up more large foundations. But at this point, it's every source of philanthropic charitable funds come our way. Excuse me? Do we work with the mayor? No. The answer is the answer to that is that there's 42,000 people experiencing homelessness in the city of Los Angeles, not just the county. And the mayor right now is focused on her Inside Safe initiative, which is going into encampments, placing people in hotels at about $250 a night, which is a lot of money. So right now, the mayor's fund is actually going to philanthropic organizations and trying to get money for the mayor's fund. So we're very supportive of all that work, but there's not been an avenue for us to be of a size and significance that will really move the needle for the mayor's office. We do believe, however, that our volunteer initiative will move the needle. Eventually that will move the needle because there will be no other option. And so our advocacy very, very much is around that right now. We think that that's the most important thing to talk about. Yes? Our focus mostly right now is in the Central City area. But like I said, with our relationship with LA Family Housing, with other organizations in the Valley, people will take the bus to come to our site. And thanks to the power of Zoom, our case managers, our resource coaches are doing tons of work with people on Zoom, with them and their phones. So we have people from all over, and our focus mostly is on Central City. We have a clear vision, however, that what we do, this unit of service that we have, can be duplicated. And we would love to find a place to do that here in the Valley. Yes? Sure. She said, walk through the process of our friend program and how people can be supportive and helpful. So what we have is a training program of 3 to 4 sessions with our volunteer coordinator who teaches folks what are the boundaries, what are the things that people need, what's the skill set, how can you talk to people, what kind of boundaries do you need to have with folks, and what are people's needs, what does homelessness look like, and then what skill set do you have that can be matched with somebody. And then what we do is we would tell you, here's John, he's left foster care, he's struggling with his food, he's struggling with these issues. We're thinking the two of you might be a good match, and this is something you could work with and help him with. And then we would introduce you, and then you would be connected with the resource coach, the two of you, to kind of come up with a plan, and then you would just follow that and report back. We try to keep it very simple. It depends. It can happen on Sunday. It can happen on Sunday after a while, or it can happen at Starbucks. It can happen in lots of different ways. Yeah. It depends on the person. The thing that makes it special, it's about that person and how can we make that relationship the best that it can be. It can be very short term, can be very focused on one issue, but it can also be long term if people are interested in that. Yes? Yeah, so the many families end up being helped, but we're focused on individuals. So as an example, we have an amazing young woman by the name of Audrey. Audrey came to us. She had been a victim of domestic violence, and she was in a domestic violence shelter. And she had a job, but she had no way to save money. There was no way that she was going to be able to save enough money to be able to handle that. So she came to get our support. And so she came for 16 weeks. At the end of that 16 weeks, she completed the program. It was ready to get the $5,000 and get housed. We housed her. Her children had been taken from her, and so she was able to get them back. So a lot of times we're helping families through the individuals that we're working with. I can't tell you how many, I'm just give you another very sad example. 6 months ago, we housed a man who was just really wonderful. He was working as working with developmentally disabled folks as an assistant, as an aide. And sadly, he in his apartment, thank God, he was housed when he passed away. But of natural causes, he passed away in his apartment. And just last week, we had a celebration of life, and 6 of his friends, his former wife and his 3 children, came back to the LGBT Center for a celebration of life. And what she said was, we hadn't had a relationship with him for 2 or 3 years, but for the last 7 or 8 months, we were very, very close to him. And he reestablished his relationship with his kids, and they had come and passed by on a Sunday, not knowing that that's where he was. And they said they had never seen him happier than he was talking to the people out on the street. And it was really, as sad as that was, it was also a remarkable victory, because the family, without us, that family would not have had him back. Yeah, the question was, do we work with people? Is it only English speaking? And we have bilingual staff. Yeah. Yeah.
How do people come and volunteer for the Sunday food service?
Super easy. Take one of these when you leave, and all you have to do is go online, and there is a website, and you can just register and come. But you have to register first. Well, we'll have 25 or 30 openings for every single week. We have some weeks when there's not availability because we have sponsors. So a corporation will come and they'll make a $5,000 to $10,000 gift to us, and they'll bring 30 people and have a really sponsor day. But there's many Sundays that are open, and every 6 weeks we open up the next 6th week when the 6th week is open. They go really fast. Well, one thing, we will provide about 600 chicken dinners and groceries to folks on Thanksgiving Day in the back of the LGBT Center. We've been doing that for probably 25 years as well. And that one, we have folks who come who volunteer for Thanksgiving, and that goes just like that. Yes.
Just driving through the communities, LA County, the city of LA, it appears to me that there are many people who have multiple complex problems, unskilled, semi-skilled, mental health problems, physical health problems. How do you prioritize? How do you identify and prioritize what to deal with first? There's so many complex problems. What do you do?
Well, say it again. Yeah, I was trying to think about how to do it. Oh, so the question was that people have so many complex and remarkably difficult problems. How do you prioritize which ones to deal with? And so my best answer to that comes from experience. And unfortunately, we're not in a position where our systems do it well. But you have to do 16 things, 20 things simultaneously in the system well. You have to have enough housing that's affordable. You have to have enough mental health beds. You have to have enough sobriety centers. You have to have places to go when people are ready to get that assistance. And what I think is true about Los Angeles County and many, many cities and counties throughout our country is there's not enough of those. And so what happens is people go and they try to get to those levels and they're not available to them. So they fall through the cracks and they fall through the cracks. The other thing is we know is while we have housed more people than we've ever housed before, more people are falling into homelessness than there's available housing. That's another one. So available housing, mental health support, drug and alcohol support, and falling through the cracks where all of those focuses and all that level of acuity is people who are employable and they're kind of on their own. But if they're homeless long enough, you'll start to see issues and problems that place them in those higher levels of acuity. So what we focus on at Food on Foot is that. So we hone in on that part, and we do our best with that part, and we want to get to a point where we have proven that this works, and we can then get more funding to do things in the Valley and things in the West Side rather than just one location. We think we have a very interesting solution, but it's only a tiny part of a solution. All of those solutions need to fall into place. And right now, I can tell you that the focus is the Olympics are coming. Get them off the street. That's the focus. So there's a lot of people and things that aren't being focused on that are going to make that goal really difficult, to meet. But so that's my best answer to that question, and it's my personal answer. Some folks might answer that differently. Yes.
How does this kind of build as a co-talk between yourself and Asher? I'd like to hear from Asher, what brought you to this? Well, how did you find Food on Foot, and what form is your volunteerism take?
So the way I found Food on Foot is with a family friend who introduced us to it. And so I think like closer to Thanksgiving, we went out and we helped pass out the meals, which felt really good. And it was just great to see like all the smiles on the people's faces when they found like people like that will help them. And also they found like that kids are also like care about it and that they help them a lot. So I feel like, yeah, I found out about it from a family friend, and it's just such a great cause.
Also, he doesn't know, but as a family, we're a part of the $98 club. He doesn't pay it every month, but so he wouldn't know. But
Get some money, Asher.
he has a great donation coming. And we get what's wonderful is every month we get a little story about who it is that we're helping and who's now been moved on into the next chapter. So you guys do a really good job of kind of keeping us in the loop of where our money's going towards. It's not just like an endless, hole, I guess. But I gotta tell you, they fill up all the time on Sundays, so it's been hard to get back there for a while. But yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to sign up to volunteer on a Sunday? You can months in advance.
It's usually 6 weeks. It's usually 6 weeks. We don't go too far out in advance because we want people to be able to participate. But I have to tell you, it's also very, very powerful. We will have anywhere between, and Asher folks, you probably saw this, 10 or 11 kids will come through with their parents through the line. And for kids to see other kids and to hand other kids support and help, it's very unique. There's not a lot of opportunities for people to do that anywhere else. Yes, sir.
In the mayor's program, is there anything creating centers for addiction, mental health, versus just putting people, with those?
Well, the answer is that there's a huge nonprofit sector that is contracted to do significant amounts of this work. And the county has mental health workers and behavioral health specialists and such. The issue and the problem is that there's not enough of them. So there's a model called the Housing First model and the harm reduction model. And I remember, because I've been doing this for a really long time, when that was really successful. And it started on the East Coast, and what they would do is they would take somebody who fails in every program and they just house them. They just house them, but for every 10 people, there was one staff member. And so they had teams of 4 staff people with 40 people who were recently housed, and it was a mental health specialist, a drug and alcohol specialist, somebody to help with money, and a healthcare professional. Those 40 people were seen every day. And what it showed was that 86% of them were still housed a year later. So they might have a lot of problems still, but homelessness is no longer one of them, right? So that's the model. And what I can tell you is there is not one staff person for every 10 people. That's not achievable, and it's not been achieved on a huge level. So getting people into the apartments is good, and 86% of them could still be housed a year later, but if they're not getting that wraparound support that teaches them, you may have issues with drugs and alcohol, but how do we make it so that you don't lose your housing, right? How do we make that happen? Then focus on that. I can tell you that that's the intention, but that's not what's happening yet. It's not what's happening well.
I've always wondered with the homeless, why not an approach like a dormitory? I mean, I feel like from talking to them, I personally think it's insane. And the idea of an apartment, why not a dormitory or a boarding house or a rooming house?
Right. Well, you know, there's been a huge increase in the number of shelters and shelter beds that have been built. But I can tell you that having run shelters and worked in them, worked directly with people and then run those shelters, they're really hard. Because in a lot of ways, human beings weren't supposed to live 50 or 60 people to one gigantic room. There's a lot of snoring, there's behavioral issues, there's problems. But for congregate, people who are congregate, do well in congregate settings, this is really helpful. And so having more shelter programs is really, really important. But what I'm a big advocate for, and I'll tell you this story before I think I'm almost out of time. So I needed to, time came for me to move, and I was living in West Hills, and the time came for me to move, and I was looking for something, and I was like, darn it, I am not gonna spend a lot of money on a place to live. I'm just not gonna do it. But I needed a 3-bedroom place to live. So I was looking and looking and looking, and all of a sudden I went to this place, and it was a brand new ADU with 3 bedrooms for far less money. And I said, something's not right about this. And I was looking around. Right across the street is a tiny home village. So my balcony overlooks the tiny home village. And so I said to my kids, I said, I don't know how you all would feel about that. And they said, Dad, you've been doing this your whole life. This is cheap. We should do it. So I moved in. And I have to tell you, there have been a few problems. The councilman's office is here. The police department is here, and the tiny home shelter is here. And in the middle is a little garage, like a little parking area that is not the shelter's responsibility. That's where there are problems. And the police's job was to keep that from happening. For 6 months, there's not been a single problem in that parking lot, and I have not been awakened one night. I had more problems with my neighbors in West Hills than I did with the tiny home village across the street. The police coming across the street from me in West Hills because somebody was being beaten up has never happened at the tiny home village. And what I can tell you is I'm the most gigantic proponent of the tiny home movement. So the tiny home movement is large tracts of space with almost just a one bedroom bungalow. It's just a bed, a desk, something to plug in your Wi-Fi, and a congregate place to eat and a congregate, but you close the door. They can have their pet. That is a remarkable solution. Yeah, there's public, the bathrooms are put in. Yes, that's right. Since COVID, I can tell you they didn't put the 2 people in, and a lot of times they still haven't, because if they don't have to, then they don't. But those are, like I said, we need shelters, we need hotels, we need tiny homes, We need all of those things. All of them need to happen. And what happens is we tend not to have enough resources to do most of them, which brings me back to the beginning of my point, is regular folks taking an issue and working with somebody to help them. That's missing. That's missing. In a lot of ways, as a community, we're outsourcing the problem. We're contracting with people to do it, and if we can just find ways for everybody to just do a little something, it will really go a long way. And so I always point out that if I believe there are 2,000 congregations, faith-based congregations in Los Angeles County, around 2,000, right? If every one of them took on 3 people, right? If everyone took on 3 people, that'd be 6,000 people who got helped. If everyone over the course of a year did 10, so many people could be helped. So I always throw that out to whenever I'm talking to folks is, I'm not telling you have to do something about it, but think about it. Just think about what could a congregation do to help 10 people who are experiencing homelessness?
I think one of the problems in the picture that you painted is fear on the volunteers' point.
Mm-hmm.
They might put themselves into some kind of compromising situation with somebody who could be dangerous to them or to
Mm-hmm.
their family, whatever. I think that's something that you have to get past and sort of explain how that.
Yep. Take the flyer with you on the Friends program because we actually think we've got that model. But again, our model is focused on people who are employable. It's not focused on people with the highest level of mental health. But I would just share with you one other thing, something very simple. There are people out here who use the bus all the time and know how to use it. Teaching somebody how to ride the bus and use the bus system could be a very simple thing that somebody could do. Just that one tiny thing. And you don't have to worry about your safety. You can just do something to teach them that one thing, right? So it's something little. It could be something larger. It could be something smaller. We just have to create lots and lots of opportunities. Yeah. Yes, that's true. Oh, please do. Yeah. Yeah, please do. Yeah, that'd be great.
Explain it, we don't know what that is.
What?
Some of us don't.
It's an ADU is a unit of housing that's built on your property. So like people.
Oh, but what do you mean by faith-based? Why is that?
So I just heard, NPR reported in the last couple of weeks, there was a bill that just got signed into law that, you can now build affordable housing on religious grounds,
They're saying that you don't have to go through special zoning processes to do that.
So we could put them over here, right?
So it sounds like your program is more early intervention. You're getting people before they have any.
Yes, that's our part. That's our part, and that's but it's a very unique opportunity for people. Yeah.
What is your name?
Michael Foley.
Michael Foley?
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for having. Oh, wait. Last question. Homeless people, where are they from? Yes. So the best statistic that I saw is that in Los Angeles County, 60% of the people, 65% of the people became homeless in Los Angeles County. There's other people who move through and move around, but 65 to 70% became homeless in Los Angeles County. Yeah, and I just give you, here's the last thing when you think about the politics of things. This really, when I was the director, I was not the director, I was the chair of the service community for Santa Clarita and before I took this job, and San Fernando Valley. And we would talk about how can we work with politicians, to make these decisions and make things go well. There are 7 council members in the San Fernando Valley. This has been split up 7 different ways. And one city council member said, you know what, in my district, what I want it to be is, in this whole questionnaire you have, is ask them where they went to high school. Because if they didn't go to high school in my district, I'm not sure that I want to give them money and services. That didn't happen. But these are the types of discussions that sort of come up. So that answers your question.
Thank you so much. That was really enlightening. And I think that all of us now have the challenge, what little thing can we do? It's not hard. I'm sure lots of us could do something small, like maybe I'll be a mentor or help teach skills. The flyers are out on the table. There are 2 of them. Please take them as you're leaving. You can take it after this next talk we're going to have. We're going to have a few minutes break so you can stretch your legs and okay. All right. We'll give you 2 minutes to stand up and stretch. I'll repeat the questions next time for whoever asks. I couldn't figure out how to get this.
Folks, don't go too far because we're going to start again within the next couple of minutes.
Do you take donations of clothing and stuff like that?
We do every Sunday between 10 and 11 at the LGBT.
That's a big red building.
It is the big red building. You got it. Thank you very much.
Small senior population.
I think 12 to 15% of the homeless population. So in the Hollywood area, there's about 3,000 people experiencing homelessness. So at least 400 a day are seniors. It's a lot. We don't have a facility, so they come and go. No, I don't know exactly how many because they come through in a 2-hour period. We can't really count. We go with the overall population.
It's covered out in Hollywood. Yeah, I actually do my own volunteer work with IDF. So I help people take care of that.
Right. Good. Thank you for that.
It's somewhat problematic because the senior centers in the valley are just like, they're not very well organized.
Nor are they particularly welcoming of people experiencing homelessness.
No, I mean, I've had several people who are homeless come in and see me, and we help them and whatnot. But what I'm kind of investigating now is other ways to do what I'm doing instead of just sitting in the senior center waiting for appointments that don't show up. Other kinds of training and stuff. That's what I'm kind of interested in. Things that can mix with it.
Take the flyer for the food program, take a look at it, and the name of the person, this one right here, take this flyer here, and talk to Randy White, because we've got opportunities for that. Thank you for sharing.
For doing like
We're helping people like
senior, Medicare, Medi-Cal.
well, perhaps, yeah, give a call.
I heard you have social services on site.
Department of Social Services.
So
But
do they have direct access to a social worker? Can do
No.
the Medi-Cal stuff?
No.
Okay, see, this is a big problem.
Yeah.
I've been trying to establish a relationship with a couple of social workers for Medi-Cal. Because I'm not technically supposed to help them with Medi-Cal forms, but I do. Because you get a person who can't use a computer, and they're like, what do I do? Well, what you do is you get a covered California form, you come see me, and fill it out together. I have no choice.
Thank you so much. I appreciate what you're doing.
Okay, well, okay, I'll read this and we'll look into it. Okay?
I'm more
But
asking,
thanks for giving your time.
yeah, I'm asking more about the services and the volunteering, but are we able to help those who have disabilities? And if somebody came to you who is deaf, would you be part? I'm in mental health, and a lot of times there are people that are in your area.
I don't think on this Sunday, I don't think we have anyone who sounds this.
And would you be able to, if somebody came and needed it, would you be able to? I know
We would
not
figure out.
everyone-
We would figure out how.
Okay.
It's not happened before, but we would figure out how.
Probably because they don't know about the program.
Right.
So again,
Right.
I'm just hearing about the program.
of the things that we share with you.
Okay, everybody. Let's all come back in, please, and find your seats down here. It's okay if you're down here and your eyes closed. Everybody's fasting, or at least some people. So come on back. We have a wonderful speaker who's about to join us, and Rabbi Alexander is going to introduce him.
Hello, everybody. The reason that I would like to introduce Aiden Rush is because he and his wife, Laura, and his son, Eitan, and, well, now, so now, Itai as well. So I wanted to let you know that they've been members of the congregation for about a year. And what Eitan is going to discuss with you today and take questions about is his experience in the IDF, the things that I suggested to him, and he's going to speak about whatever he wants, but he'd be happy to get questions from you as well after he's done. But I wanted to say welcome to them because they're new in the community, and they're incredibly wonderful people. And so we're very blessed that he said yes to speaking with us today.
So whatever you wanted.
Hello everyone, I'm Eden, בעברית. And they asked me to talk about the IDF, about Tzahal. I don't know how many members been to Tzahal, but I finished high school in 2006, and I was in August. My time was to join in August. I had just 3 weeks, pretty much after finishing the high school. After finishing high school, I had just about 3 weeks. I went to Ayia Napa, it's in Cyprus. I enjoyed for 1 week with my friend, and then I joined the military. And it was quite an experience, I gotta say. We all get prepared to it mentally because our grandparents been to the military, our parents been to the military. We see older brothers go. So we all getting kind of like prepared to it. But nothing really prepares you to it. Does it make sense? The first day that you have your bag and you enter over there, and they start taking your photos of your teeth. If God forbid something will happen to you, that's how they recognize you, or they give you your metal plate. So you put one on one as a necklace, right? One on your chest. Not many know the metal plate. Yeah, sorry, my English is not my first language. Exactly. But you don't really know until you join the military that you have to take one of those, break it to half, and put in each foot, that if they don't find it. So you're starting to thinking about those things that can become a reality. And then I remember the drive to the base that was in the south of Israel. And all of my military clothes look super shiny, super new. And you enter to the base, and they start to split you into groups, and you're being screamed on. The first thing that happens is that you're being screamed on, and from over there, basic training goes like that, and you pretty much, the idea of the military is to break everything that you know of, to give you a big shock, and to welcome you to the military by showing you that everything that you knew is over, and this is your new life. Now, part of doing that is a lot of tizuzim. Tizuzim in Hebrew means that they make you do things just to do things, pretty much. Okay, they make you run, go back and forth. Okay, be on in squats or to do some push-ups, just because. Exactly. And suddenly, if something happens to one of the group, it affects the entire group. So very fast, the entire group becomes people that are very close to you, okay? Because you're sharing this together. You're in a room with 16 people, or you're, out there shooting or crawling or whatever you need to do, and you always do it together. Me growing up in Herzliya, and this is going to the topic of the class, I knew how Israeli people look like, but the thing that I knew was very different than real life. So growing in the city, so you have Ashkenazim, you have Sfaradim, and you have Aravim. It's pretty much, okay? You have white people, you have from Jews that came from Morocco or Iraq, Sfaradim, and that you have Arabs. So you pretty much, this is how you see the world, and that there is somewhere in Jerusalem or in Bnei Brak, very, very religious people that their thoughts and behavior is super different than yours. When you suddenly entered the military, one of the things that shocked me is the people next to me. What is really Israel? What is really the people of Israel? So let me tell you, the people of Israel is Ethiopians, okay? That they're very, that they're Shomrei Masoret, they're religious, but they arrived over here, and part of them arriving was dreaming about going to Israel for about 1,000 years. That they had songs, they sing songs about going to Israel for thousands of years. Israeli people is Banish. Banish is, I did not know anyone that was a Banish. Banish means Bnei Yeshivot, and a lot of them are settlers, people that lived outside of the Green Line. I never been in that place. I had nothing to look over there, but they were amazing people that I just suddenly met. People from the south of Israel, if it's from Be'er Sheva, it means that I met Druzim. I never met Druzim in my life before. Druzim is, they're kind of like Arabs. They get married between themselves, but they're super patriotics, and they always want to be part of Tzahal. And suddenly I understood that everything I knew about Israel for 18 years is not even true, because I knew the very mainstream kind of Israel, the Tel Aviv kind of Israel, which is not, this is not the country. This country has a lot, has everything from everything, just like how the land changes, that you have the Dead Sea, and then you have the Kinneret, and you have the south, that is the desert, and you have the north, that is the forest. The same is the people. You have everything from everything, and it's so beautiful to see how those people love this country and connected with the roots for the country and willing to sacrifice for this country. We call it Sir Hituch, a melting pot. And Ben Gurion, the first Prime Minister of Israel, wanted that. They said that all the Jews, doesn't matter where they're coming from, we should make them the same. I don't think that right now it's actually making you the same, but it's kind of like putting you all together and putting you in the same situation to pass through in those 3 years. This I would agree. And I can say that it was amazing for me to get to know the Benishim, to get to know the Ethiopians. My best friend from the military is now from the south. He lives in the south. He's Faradi. His name is Adir, and he is the funniest guy, the most loyal person, and pretty much the person that, thanks to him, I passed the military, and I was in all good because he's always watched my back. Another thing that they asked me to talk about is what is the set of values that you get in the military. So me and my wife, we had a talk with her mom about the war right now, the 7th of October, the war in Gaza and the war in Lebanon. And my wife said, I would like our son, Eli, that is only 7 months old, to go to the Israeli military. And I was starting to think about that, and he's like, would I want him to go to Israel to fight in a real war where real people get injured, well, real people die? And I want to say that if I would want him to go, is because of the values that I believe that I have, based on me finishing the military. Many values. And one value is to give without asking for any return. It's something very hard for people to understand, because most people, especially in the capitalist countries, when you give something, you're looking something for return, even if it's not money. If you give love to somebody, you want their love back. It can be even emotion. When you enter the military, it's the first time when you're going to give 3 years of your best, the best of you, of your life, and you're not getting anything for return. I mean, you get $200. That's to you to pay for your cigarettes or whatever you want, your ice cream. But you don't get really anything in return. And more than that, a lot of responsibility, as the time passes, more and more responsibility is being given to you, and the less you're getting back. And I think that that's something that has a lot of importance to teach, a value that has a lot of importance to teach to people, that not always it's about giving a return. Sometimes you do something, okay, because you have to do it. Not because you want to do it, because you have to do it. And the more time passes, from have to do it is I want to do it, and then when you actually finish the military, when you're out there and you're looking back in time, I'm proud that I did that. So you do it from different reasons in different periods of times, but all of those reasons give values that you're very proud of them in the end. Another thing that I want to talk about is Toar HaNeshek. Toar HaNeshek is something that is the first thing that they teach you in the military. They give you a small book, okay? And Toar HaNeshek means when are you allowed to shoot and when you're not. So in your head, before you enter the military, you're given a gun, an Arab looks suspicious at you, looks at you, and you shoot him. That's what's in your head, okay? This is the way you think. And this is the biggest no-no, the number one thing that they teach you against when you enter to the military is Toar HaNeshek. It means how pure the weapon is going to be. When are you going to be allowed to fire? What are you doing? What do you need to do before you fire? And what happens if your commander tells you to fire and you know it's not the right reason? And if that happens, you are not allowed to obey the commandment. This teaches you about a value that with a great power comes a great responsibility. I'm not Spider-Man, but every time I hear that, and I'm saying, what's a smart thing to say? This is the right thing. To being the strongest person on the block doesn't mean that you're going to use it on everybody just to show that you're strong. It means that you need to have these values to show everybody around you so people will look up at you. And it took me time to actually understand that. They drill it into you. But the more time passes and more incidents happen and more, a T transitions, that you have to decide left or right happen. And suddenly you're like, okay, this is what I was trained to do. This is what I need to do. And you see yourself making a decision based on that small booklet that you got in the first day of military that says, Toar HaNeshek. That's, one of the biggest values that I actually got from the military. And the last thing is something that, not everybody likes to accept it, but it is how it is. When you enter to the military the first day, you're called a chong. A chong means very young, okay? Everything looks very young on you. Your military clothes are, they're shiny, your kumta, you need still to take all the hairs off of it. And where you're a chong, you need to do things that you don't like to do because there is somebody that been in the military 2.5 days more than you, and he is, yeah. I know it's funny. But it is like that. And I don't know if 2.5 days, but a year or a year and a half or 2 years. And you have to, even though he's not a commander, you have to listen to him. And this is because of experience. And it's about the experience in the military. It's not about the experience of age, because Beinish, the Bnei Shivot that been with me in the military, most of them were 24, 25, 23 years old, some of them with kids, because they would finish the yeshiva, they would do 1 year of volunteering first, and only then they will go to the military. So some of them, they're 24 with a wife and 2 kids. And I was like, I was amazed how they're willing to leave that, to be 21 days, to go back to the military, to go back home for 2 days and go back for 21 days or 28 days. It was very crazy to see. But more crazy is that suddenly, or a commander, or even somebody that is just in the military for a year or 2 years more than them, is telling them what to do. And he's not saying it in the nice way, and you still need to listen. It shows you that experience does matter. And a place, that you earn your place by experience. You earn your place by working hard. And when you earn your space and your place, you actually get this kind of like, how would I say it? It's not a rank, but respect, that people have to listen to you. And you know that this is not, in real life, when you both leave the military, all of this is gone. But in that community, these are the values. The more you spend more time over there, the more you have the knowledge, okay? The more respect you're going to get. So do your thing. You're starting now. You see the path. This is what you're going to look at. And it helps. And it helps because it helps to know that you're this small in a portion of your life and see yourself grow. If in other times you feel the same way, you're like, okay, I've been there. I felt that small and I saw myself grow. It's not a big deal. We can pass that. And I feel that in many parts in my life, I felt that way. And because I had to go down from the bottom and grow up, it gave me that strength to do that again. Because the moment you do something once, you know the second time it's possible. And I think that's a strong value. So if I'm looking at my son today, I don't know if I really want him to be in a war, but military has, Israeli Tzahal has many places you can go to. My cousin right now is going to 8200. It's like an amazing, intelligence group. But still, they will learn the same values that I was talking to you today. So it doesn't matter in where you're going to. Those values are given to everybody. And that's it. If you have any questions.
How are the lone soldiers treated? 2 of my nephews went over as lone soldiers.
Let me repeat the question. How are the lone soldiers treated? Two nephews were in Israel, lone soldiers.
Treated the same. Everybody is treated the same. There's nobody special because you have father or mother, you don't have father or mother. Now, when you leave the military, like you have chamshush, you need to go home, and they don't have where to go, so they have like houses, they're being hosted, and they get like vouchers that they're like money, so they get like extra money, and there is people that call in and asking how they're doing, but inside, everybody is treated the same. Yeah.
Joette?
Militarily, the Israeli army, or the entire military, is considered one of the most talented and efficient and best in the world. What did your experience in it contribute to that? I mean, what do you think it is about the Israeli military that makes it so well equipped and so successful at many incursions?
I think again
Let
is
me repeat the question. The question was, the Israeli military as a whole group is exemplary and successful and talented, and some, we might say, the best military in the entire world. And Joette was asking, to what do you attribute that, and what was your experience, what was your little part in that amazing characterization and truth about the Israeli military?
So mainly the answer for this is the people. You have very high quality people, and they're being screened and then chosen to go to different points of power. So I started at the armor at the Shirion. I did my basic training and advanced training over there, and then I was chosen to be a Krav Maga instructor because the instructor of the base where I was going to finish his military service, and there was nobody to replace him. So I was sent to courses in Wingate. Wingate is next to Netanya. It's the University of Sports. Not many people know that. In Wingate, in the university, there is a base. There is a base that over there, all the units, the most top units of Tzal, they go over there, and there is physical instructors, and there is Krav Maga instructors that they are doing them courses, and they are testing them. Okay, so I went to do that. First of all, this was one of a kind of experience for me to do, because I did it with people from Duvdevan and Shaldag, and like the very top units that they're kind of like whispers, talks about them. Nobody really knows the people in them. I had the privilege of doing the course with those people. And when you see the commanders that we had, if you see the instructors that we have, the instructors were people that they were world class in Muay Thai, world class in boxing. And when I say world class, I'm talking champions with gold medals, okay? And they asked to be recruited. They were asked to be recruited again to the military to give it 2 or 3 years after they finished their official, fighting time. And they were being taught the Krav Maga, and then by them being taught the Krav Maga, they became officers to teach those things to commanders and to go down the chain. When you have this kind of people coming to teach you just a small part of your training that is Krav Maga, it means, Krav Maga is a self-defense. It's, what they teach in the military, if somebody comes and attacks you, how to finish the combat as soon as possible, okay? When you have top people like that are being chosen to teach that, it shows the commitment of the organization to bring the best of the best for each branch to teach whatever it needs to teach. And I think that this goes in everywhere you go, okay? If people in the Tikshuv, the most genius people that they know about computers, same thing about intelligence. If it's in special units, They go and they test them before they finish high school. They test them during high school. They test them during the military. And it's just a small portion that passes those tests actually is able to fulfill their military service. So the people is what makes the change. The people is what makes the change, and the more you go to something that has more value and that is harder to operate, the harder the tests are going, and then that combination with the intelligence, the knowledge, and the strength, and with really loving the country, because you have in United States intelligent people. The difference is, I think the difference is that they don't fight in their land. People don't fight over here, so they don't feel that this is to save their mother, this is to save their grandmother. If they don't do that, okay, their sister is scared to walk at the street. When you have that feeling, this is the extra. This is the extra that I believe that people in other militaries, they don't have it. And that's what makes the big change.
Two questions. One is, what might have been your biggest challenge in the IDF, and what about women in the IDF?
All right, regarding my biggest challenge, I don't know, I had many challenges, but I have one thing that I remember perfectly, okay, is the last test of the Krav Maga course. And this is when you're in Netanya in Wingate, and you run into the water and they roll you in the sand, and then you have a huge mountain of dune. And over there you have 16 of the instructors, and each one of them is with a different weapon, and your mission is to run the dune from down all the way up and neutralize each one of them. I will never forget that. The feeling of finishing that, the feeling of accomplishment, it's something that I will remember for the rest of my life. There's another part as well. The first day of that course, we were on four, on push-up position, and we had to stay. And they wanted to remove some of us. We were too big of a group, so they were kicking us and asking us to fall down, because if we fall down, they came to us with like Coke bottles, okay, and they're like, hey, this Coke is for you, okay? Just fall down. I just need 2 more people out, okay, and I can start the course. This Coke is for you. You don't need to deal with this, And I remember that, and I felt like I'm part of a movie, and I said, no, this is not true. Like these are things you see in the movie, and it was true. So those 2 things I will never forget. I'm sure I had a lot of challenges, but these are very vivid in me. Regarding women, they're equal. When I was in the military, they were not in every part of the military, but it is changing, and you see that it's changing more and more. So I'll give you an example. I came from the armor, from the tanks, Chativa Sheva, and all of our Imun Mitkadem is the advanced training. Our instructors were women. There was not even one instructor guy. All the instructors were women. So they were allowed to be instructors, but they were not allowed to be fighters, warriors, or commanders in the tank. If you're looking right now at 7th of October, after there was a big, how would I say it? Women went to Israeli Supreme Court and were fighting that, and they were allowed to be in the tank. You hear at 7th of October about that platoon, about that group that were, killing so many terrorists, that they came from the south of Israel, from from the border with Sinai, they heard what's happening, and they took their tank, and without telling anybody, they just flew into the kibbutzim, and the people that they saved, and that just shows you what a smart move was that, allowing them. Now, I don't think anything can happen in once. It's not like right now, boom, this happens. But you can see that within time, more and more progress happens, okay? I know that there is a big difference already between when I was in the military and back then, and this is just 16 years apart. I mean, that's not such a big time, and already there is a difference. I'm telling you that those instructors now are warriors and commanders in the tanks. I hope I answered your question.
As you know, Israel has got a lot of bad press around the world. We're creating genocide. We're hurting people indiscriminately. I don't think it's true. But what are the values in the book you referred to, the charity of arms, that is being used in the war right now that the world doesn't know about?
The question is, Israel has been getting a lot of bad press around the world and committing genocide and other accusations. And the question, Jim is thinking that may not be true. And so he's asking about the values that you learned in the IDF and what is it, I guess you're asking about just war and
Listen, before I answer your question, I have to tell you something that within this war, because when I joined the military, I was it was exactly the Second Lebanon War, and nothing like the press that is happening right now is happening. And I have to say something personal in this case. Anti-Semitism is something real. And it doesn't matter what our value is going to be. It does matter how much we're going to show it, but people are growing up with these bad thoughts about Jewish people, about Jewish allowed to win, about Jewish allowed to defend themselves, and not always need to be the ones that are sacrificed or the one. So there is people that this is their problem. Their problem is that you're not dying quietly, man. And in Israel, it doesn't pass. We don't pass it. We don't care about that. Yeah. We're not going to die quietly. We don't care what the press says. Now, do I think that they have... We need to do a little bit better with showing what we're all about? Absolutely. I think the government is not doing their part on showing in the media what they need to do.
Better PR.
Yeah, definitely. Now I go to your question. I just had to say that. It teaches you when you're allowed to shoot, pretty much, okay? That you don't shoot even if the person is hostile, but he's unarmed, you're not allowed to shoot. And what does it mean, pretty much? Let's say somebody were going to kill somebody else, and you saw him actually killing your friends in the military or honest people, and you neutralized him, or he put his hands up. He just killed in front of your eyes people, and the feeling that you have inside is he needs to go down, okay? They teach you how no feelings are going to be conducted at this kind of situation. There is procedures, and procedures you have to follow. No feelings will be interrupting the way of your mind to think. Because in combat, feelings come all the time, and you have to put them aside. The brain has to work at that point, and not the feelings. Okay? So you're not allowed to shoot at somebody that is injured and is unhostile anymore. It means that he doesn't have a weapon next to him. You're not allowed to shoot to kill as somebody puts his hands up. You're allowed to shoot them to neutralize them, knees down, but not to kill. You're not allowed to obey a command something that your commanders told you, if you think that an unjust situation is going to happen, means that you're going to shoot somebody that he doesn't have a weapon, or that he's a civilian, or anything like that. So Toar HaNeshek really goes into those things of when you're allowed and not allowed to open fire. Let's say, even if there is a terrorist coming to attack you, there is evaluation of how immediate is the threat. Okay, you have to evaluate how immediate is the threat. So let's say, if somebody is in the other side of the room and he's pointing a gun at me, how immediate is the threat? Immediate. The threat is immediate. So in that point, you have to take cover and shoot. The threat is immediate. There's a gun pointing at you. Okay? How about somebody in the other side of the room and he has a knife? How immediate is the threat? Not so much immediate. In that point, you have to say, wakif, wakif. Okay? It's to say, stop, stop. Okay? And if he continues to go to you, you need to shoot once in the air. And only if he continues, you shoot to knees towards down. Okay? Because the threat is not immediate. Now, how immediate is the threat if she is, God forbid, but if she is the terrorist and she's this far away from me? It's very immediate. Okay, so you kind of like learn how to use your brain to understand how immediate is the threat. And then based on that, how you need to act. I hope I answered your question.
When my husband was in Nam, he said a lot of little kids were carrying weapons and they would hide stuff on the kids. Did they teach you to look at kids? Stuff like that?
You look at everyone.
The question was, we hear that sometimes the other side will use children and hide weapons with them or use them as warriors. And so how do you deal with that?
Everyone. You check everyone. If you have, let's say, a point, and your point is, and in that point you need to check, it's a checkpoint, everybody is being checked. Everyone.
Question is, up to what age are men called up or people called up for the reserves? And what was the other one? Do the Gadna and still exist?
So regarding Miluim, it really depends where you're at. Okay? It really depends where you're at and what is your ranking. You're supposed at 45 to complete Miluim, but it's not true for everyone. Let's say for fighter, fighter pilots, it's not true. They keep on flying afterwards. For officers in intelligence, it's not true. So it really depends. But let's say the rule of thumb is 45. Until 45, you're going to be recalled to Miluim. About 45 days out of the year. Depends if there is a war or no war. If there is war, of course. I have friends right now in Israel doing 300 days of Miluim. It's like, yeah, they're pretty much they're doing another military service. Gadna exists, but Gadna exists as kind of like, Gadna is military education people that take you to shooting ranges when you're in high school to learn how to shoot, or teaching you about how to do things in the field, and kind of like giving you, a pre-military experience. It exists. It's not very popular. It's something that you can sign up to yourself. I did Gadna. I went to the shooting range. We were 10 people over there. It's not something that every kid is being experienced in these days. Nachal exists inside the military, so not outside of the military anymore. So Nachal is a group of Chel Raglim. How you say Chel Raglim? Infantry, okay. So you have Golani, you have Nachal, you have Tzanchanim, you have Givati. So it's one of those. But back in the day, my grandparents were in the Nachal before it even started, and they built kibbutzim, and they, you know, part of their before military service, during military service, and afterwards. It was kind of like a group that was working in the building of Israel. It's not like that anymore. So today it's straight up. It's a military חטיבה בחיל רגלים. Yeah.
Division of the Infantry.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned fighter pilots. Do you have any say in whether you go into the ground forces, the Navy, the Air Force?
The qu-
Are you given any input on where they put you?
That's a good question.
The question is, do you have any choice in where you end up in the military, if you're in the Navy or you're a pilot or whatever?
So you have and you don't have, and I explain you how it goes. Okay. Before you enter to the military is checking with your teacher about your grades, about your behavior, about your background. Okay. As well, they making you tests. Okay. They make you physical tests, and they make you what is called psychotechny. I don't know in English how you say it, but yeah. Intelligence, kind of like intelligence, okay? And they give you ranks, okay? To enter to different units, you need to have physical ranks, mental health ranks, and then knowledge ranks, okay? And based on that, okay, they take the ranks that you got. Before you enter the military, about a year before, they give you kind of like a booklet of the things that the military has to offer you. And they tell you, choose 3, and we will commit that we'll give you 1 out of the 3. We don't know which one, but choose 3, see which one works for you best, and we'll commit to give you 1 out of the 3. Now, some of the things that you said over there, not only that you have the regular tests, to be able to enter them, you need to do some testing during high school, and then you have a very tough maslul during the military, which you can complete, but most people don't. They fall off. Okay, so if you're in TICE, you come in to be an Air Force fighter, and you fall down. Okay, you can fall down to the helicopters, or you can fall down to Tovala, or you can fall down to Tzanchanim, to Sayeret. But they still try to give you a quality place to fall down to, because they understand that only a very small part will pass the entire maslul, all the maslul, and they don't want to let such high quality people fall all the way down to the bottom. So I hope I answered your. So you have a say, but at the end they choose where you're more needed. Yeah.
The question is about at the border before October 7th, you're saying? And women were observing what was going on the Gaza side and were concerned, and they spoke about these things to their commanders, but they were not listened to.
Tatzpitaniyot, and yeah, Tatzpitaniyot is the ones that are looking. That's horrible. I don't know if it's because they're women. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that it's because of kind of like euphoria about this situation that the people in the military felt that they're all powerful and that they have a fence, and that Hamas is not going to do anything because he haven't done anything till now. I don't think it's because they were women as say, because they were women. But I'm sure that this will be need to investigate, because this war had all the signs to show that something wrong is going to happen. It was missing the people to analyze those signs the right way. But the signs were there.
This is commentary. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that that entire unit of watchers were all women. There was not a single male in that unit. But I just wanted to say that in the last couple of weeks, there was more reporting on the Lebanese border. That there's an all-female unit, and the parents are going crazy trying to get attention to it because the same thing apparently is happening on the Lebanese border, that they're not armed, the bunkers do not have any kind of interior ability to
Is this, you want to ask?
yeah, and so I mean,
It seems like maybe the same thing is happening on the Lebanese border, that an all-female unit is not being listened to when they report activities, and you're just wondering about that.
that they weren't being listened to about activities, is that there hasn't been steps taken to protect them.
Okay, so she's saying allegedly there haven't been steps taken to protect these women better on the northern border. I don't know if you know anything about that, but
I don't have an answer for that. I really hope that this is a big shock for everyone, and for the military personnel as well, that they will learn and will make better in every place they can.
back there?
U.S. military has been very delayed on addressing mental health of soldiers. How does the Israeli government?
The question is that the United States is a bit slow in addressing mental health with people in the military and veterans, and so how does that work in Israel?
Slow, getting a little bit better. Tell you why. 4 years ago, post-traumatic soldier went to like the Social Security of Israel, put gasoline on himself and lit himself in fire. And he survived. He's crippled, you know, but he said afterwards, after a year of therapy, for him to be able even to a little bit talk, that he did this because he felt helpless, and he felt that he needs to help not only himself, but all the other post-traumatic. And they made a reform, a big reform, and they started moving money towards that and acknowledging more and more, because it's a real thing. This war has already more injuries than any other war that happened in the last 50 years. So nobody knows how people are going to really get out of this one. We just know that we have a lot of more people injured. We know that we saved more people. So the way that they have helicopters on site and bringing the people that are wounded right away to the hospital, and they have a lot of like blood packs, you know, to transfer the blood. So they say that they save people that used to die in combat. Okay, let's say they put that percentage more than half down. But that means that you have more half of people that haven't died in combat, but right now they're injured, suddenly badly injured, and they're going to be nechei tzal. So this is a very good question, and I'm very scared to think how our people are going to handle this war that is already been more than a year, that we never had anything like that.
Joette?
I have family members who have been in the military in this war in Israel. And when they were released from their miluim, they were sent on like a retreat for a week to deprogram or to take care of their mental health upon coming out of this war situation.
Joette is saying that she has family who are in the military in this war, and when they're released from the reserves, they're going on a week-long retreat to deal with sort of debriefing and help them with their mental health.
I think within time, more and more effort is being given to that. You know, right now in the Nova, 17 of the survivors, nobody talks about it, got suicide.
Right.
And suddenly they're taking all the survivors of the Nova and they're doing retreats with them, and because, you know, they've been to a lot, and everybody was focused on war. Nobody was focused about the people that actually were able to survive, but not able to address, you know, those horrible things that they've seen.
We can
So,
take one more question.
Yes, the question is, after basic training, are the recruits combat ready, or they do have to go through specialized combat training?
Yeah, basic.
Let me, after basic training, are soldiers combat ready, or do they need to go through more specialized training?
So you're not ready for combat after basic training. You have to do your advanced training to be able to go to combat. You're allowed to do batash. Batash is a bitachon shotef. It means, let's say, in your yeah, exactly. Let's say that in your base, you know, you have people that need to go into, let's say, Gaza. They will allow you to be on the border to check the border. So the people that they did the basic, the advanced training will go in. Okay, so you replace them on the border, and you pretty much protect that area, but you are not allowed to go in. So like face-to-face combat, that is initiative, you have to do your advanced training.
Mel? Yeah.
Very hard in a small country to have the resources to fully do it, but they're doing the best they can.
So Mel says from his personal experience with family in Israel that there's so many resources now being used and helping people in the Miluim and other soldiers to deal with the psychological trauma of this war, and people have to go through. They have a cooling off period, and they can't go straight home, and they're being evaluated, and I assume if they have greater needs, they'll be referred for continuing treatment. And so there is great improvement now in this, and unfortunately, there's such a great need. So I really we all appreciate your coming and speaking with us. Thank you so much.
In addition to thanking Aiden and so much for being here today, I want to thank Barbara, who puts together these discussion groups every year. And that's it. Just thank you very much. Thank you very much, both of you, and actually all three of you here today. Now, at 4:15, do you want to make the announcement? Sure.
Mincha will be happening at 4:15, so you have a little bit of time to stretch or snooze or whatever. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. Gemar Tov.
Good job.
Thank you.